ever scroll past like a too good to be true sale online and think, my brain is seriously trying to make me buy this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to dive into those sneaky mental shortcuts that can lead us to, well, kind of some questionable decisions.
It's so fascinating, though, how our brains are wired for efficiency.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
But those shortcuts can sometimes, those biases, they can lead us astray a little bit.
They really can. And we're here to help you guys dodge those mental potholes, right? And we're taking inspiration from this YouTube video. It's called Pasted Text. It's got that really quick, witty explainer vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't sugarcoat how easily our brains can be tricked.
And it really dives deep into all these different biases.
Yeah.
They use relatable examples, a little humor, to really show how these thought patterns show up in our everyday lives.
Okay, so imagine this. Your brain is like, okay, it's like a computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's running on like really outdated software.
Okay.
So it's trying to process like a ton of information really, really fast. So it relies on these pre-programmed shortcuts, these biases, to kind of keep things running smoothly.
Right.
But sometimes those shortcuts, they lead to glitches, to errors in judgment.
And those glitches, those biases, they're not just about like, you know, buying things that we don't need.
Yeah.
Like they can have serious real world consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the Challenger space shuttle disaster.
Oh, gosh, yeah. That was a tragedy.
Huge tragedy.
And this video uses it as a powerful example of how confirmation bias can have, well, devastating results. In confirmation bias, just so you know, that's our tendency to favor information that, well, that just supports what we already believe.
Exactly. And so these engineers, they had concerns.
Mm-hmm.
They had concerns about the safety of this shuttle. But there was all this pressure to launch.
Right.
And that desire, that belief that everything would be fine, it may have led them to downplay or even dismiss those really important warning signs.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
And it just shows that none of us are immune to this. Think about a time when you were so sure you were right about something and then bam, you're totally wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like we've all been there.
Happens to the best of us.
It's humbling.
Very humbling. And, you know, sometimes it's not even about like us actively seeking out information that confirms what we believe, but it's about what we subconsciously ignore. And that's kind of survivorship bias in action.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Okay, so think about that story about the World War II bomber planes.
Okay, yeah.
They initially wanted to reinforce the areas with the most bullet holes.
Makes sense. Right.
Right? They're like, let's add armor where they're getting hit the most.
Yeah.
But they weren't considering the planes that didn't make it back.
Whoa.
The ones most likely shot down because they were hit in different areas that were more vulnerable.
Oh, wow.
So they were only looking at the survivors, the planes that made it back, and they were missing this huge part of the picture.
Wow.
Yeah. Thankfully, someone pointed this flaw out,
Oh, good.
and they were able to adjust their approach, ultimately saving lives.
That's incredible. What a difference in thinking.
It is. It makes you wonder, what are we missing by only focusing on those success stories, you know, in other aspects of our lives? What blind spots might we have?
It's a great question. This whole survivorship bias thing, it really makes you think, right? Like, it's crazy how our brains can just miss crucial information sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
But here's the thing. This pasted text video, they made a great point about how these biases, they don't just show up in like, you know, history books.
Right.
They're messing with us every single day.
Oh, absolutely. Our brains are constantly just bombarded with information.
It's true.
And those shortcuts, those biases, they kick in and we don't even realize it.
They really do. Okay, so picture this. You're scrolling through, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, whatever your poison is.
Yeah.
And you see this really heated debate happening in the comments. And you start reading, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, am I agreeing with this? I don't even know if I agree with this.
The bandwagon effect.
The bandwagon effect, it's real, man.
Oh, it's so real. It's that like that innate human desire to just belong,
Yeah,
right? To be part of the majority. We're social creatures
we are.
at our core, and conforming to those group norms, even if it means like, I don't know, twisting our logic a little bit.
A little bit.
It gives us a sense of comfort.
It does. It's true. Like, our brains are saying, well, if everyone else is thinking it, it must be right. Right.
Right, exactly.
And just like that, bam, we're on the bandwagon.
On the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And speaking of going with the flow, let's talk about the status quo bias.
Oh, yeah. Status quo.
This one likes to keep things comfy.
Comfy, yeah.
Yeah. It tells us to stick with what's familiar, even if it's not the best.
Oh, this is me. 100%. It's like going to your favorite restaurant and getting the same thing every time, even though the specials sound amazing. Or like, I don't know, sticking with like an outdated phone plan.
Yeah.
Just because it's what you've always had.
Exactly, because our brains, they crave efficiency.
It's true.
And sticking with what's familiar, it takes less mental effort.
So true.
It's cognitive conservation.
I like that.
But the problem is, this bias can prevent us from exploring those new possibilities, from actually making changes that might improve our lives.
That's very true. So, okay, let's recap. We've got confirmation bias, making us cling to those beliefs. We've got survivorship bias, giving us this like skewed view of reality, the bandwagon effect, urging us to just follow the crowd. And then we have status quo whispering in our ears like, change is bad, just stay right where you are.
Stay in your little box.
It's like our brain is working overtime to keep us in our comfort zones, even if, honestly, those comfort zones aren't really serving us anymore.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating paradox because these biases, these shortcuts, they're meant to make our lives easier.
They should be.
You would think so, right? But they actually complicate things by leading us down these paths that aren't actually good for us.
It's true. It's like our brains are playing this never-ending game of Tetris, trying to make everything fit, even if we have to like squish it down.
That's it in there.
But, okay, before we go and like demonize bias as this ultimate evil,
Right.
the paste-to-text people make a really interesting point. They say that not all bias is bad.
It's true. There are times when those quick judgments can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Even life-saving. Think about like, if you've ever been in a situation where you had to react really quickly to something.
Oh, like a dangerous situation.
Yeah, like, you're crossing the street and a car comes speeding around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have time to like analyze.
No.
You just got to move.
I gotta go.
Your instinct takes over.
It does.
In those moments, relying on our intuition, those like pre-programmed responses, that could be crucial.
Right.
Their brains are wired to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means like logic takes a back seat and we just rely on those deeply ingrained biases to get us through.
I get it. So it's not like we can just erase bias completely. Is that even possible?
Right, it's probably not.
But it's more about understanding, okay, how do they work? When are they good? When are they bad?
Exactly.
It's about being aware of our own like internal shortcuts.
Totally.
So we can make better choices. It's kind of like learning the rules of the road so you can drive safely, even if you hit a pothole or two.
I love that analogy. And just for like driving, the more you practice, the more aware you are, the more confident you become.
That's true. And that's what this whole cognitive bias toolkit is all about.
Exactly.
It's about understanding and being aware so we can be, smarter.
Savvier.
There you go. So let's open this toolkit up. What do we got in here? The paste-to-text video, they walk through a whole bunch more of these like brain phenomena.
Oh, they do, yeah. And they're all pretty fascinating. They offer these really good glimpses to how our minds work.
Let's do it. Let's unlock my inner mental ninja here. All right, so we've got this cognitive bias toolkit open, right? What's the first mental gadget we're pulling out?
Let's talk about anchoring bias.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Anchoring bias, what is that?
So anchoring bias, it's basically how our brains latch on to the first piece of information we get, even if it makes absolutely no difference.
So is that like when you see something that's like 50% off?
Yes.
Like it was originally $1 million, but now it's only, still expensive, but
Still expensive, but we're like, ooh, 50% off.
it's a steal.
Right. That initial price, that's the anchor, and it sets up how we think about the value.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we might actually end up spending more than we wanted to because we're so focused on that discount.
We're not even thinking about the actual price.
Not even thinking about it.
Yeah. So don't let the sale signs hypnotize you. That's the lesson here, right?
Exactly.
Do your research, look around, compare.
Yes.
Okay. What else we got?
Okay, this is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Halo effect.
Halo effect. Okay.
Have you ever met someone and you're like immediately charmed?
Yeah.
Like maybe they have a nice smile, they tell a good joke, and all of a sudden you're like,
Oh, they're perfect.
they're perfect, they walk on water.
Yeah, like they're wearing nice shoes. They must be a genius.
Yes.
Our brains are so weird.
They are. Our brains make these snap judgments based on really surface level stuff.
That's so true.
And you know what? The opposite is true too. The devil effect. That's a thing too.
Oh, no, really?
When we form a negative opinion about someone based on like one bad thing, it's important to remember everybody's human. We all have good, we all have bad. Don't judge a book by its cover, basically.
That's very true.
Give people a chance.
Look past those first impressions.
Yes. See the whole picture.
Okay, I like it. What about the Dunning-Kruger effect? That one always makes me laugh a little bit, only because it's like, why are some people so confident when they're so wrong?
Because they have zero self-awareness. Classic, right?
Oh.
So people that don't actually know what they're talking about tend to overestimate how good they are at it.
Oh, wow.
Because they don't even have the knowledge or experience to know how bad they are.
A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, right? We all know somebody like that. Maybe we are that somebody. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I think this bias really shows us how important it is to stay humble.
100%.
Be open to being wrong, you know?
And be open to feedback.
Exactly. Okay, what's next?
Availability bias.
Availability bias, okay.
This is all about what pops into your head easiest. We tend to think that means it happens more than it does.
Oh, okay.
So think about this. Like, when you watch the news, and they're always talking about these crazy things like plane crashes, shark attacks.
Yeah, those are scary.
Terrifying. But they're statistically very rare.
They are.
But they're so vivid, they stick with us, so we think they happen more.
So my brain is like, if I can easily remember something, it must happen all the time.
Exactly. And that can make us afraid of things that we probably shouldn't be as afraid of.
That makes sense.
We got to look at the data.
Okay, so, I mean, we've talked about a lot here.
We really have.
But I think a really important point that they make in the pasted text video is that this isn't just about, like, trivia, right? It's about, like, actually using this knowledge in our lives.
It's about empowering yourself, exactly.
And you know what's funny?
What?
They said there was going to be a catch at the beginning, something you wouldn't realize until the very end.
Ooh, yes.
So, get this.
What is it?
The whole video, they're using bias on us the entire time.
That's so meta.
It is.
I love it.
They're using humor and stories and making it really fast-paced so we pay attention, which is literally availability bias.
Totally. They're using our brains against us, but in a good way.
In a good way. It's like they're saying, hey, we're all in on the joke, but now that you know the joke, you're in on the secret too.
Yes.
You know? Okay, so if we had to like sum up everything we've learned today, what would it be? Our brains love a shortcut, and sometimes those shortcuts lead us down the wrong path.
Sometimes.
Now that we know about these biases, we can start recognizing them in ourselves.
Exactly. And we can start making better choices. It's like we were saying, a little knowledge can be a powerful thing.
So true. So next time you see that too good to be true sale, remember the anchoring effect. If you meet someone and you're like, oh, they're incredible, halo effect, watch out. And if you're ever feeling super confident about something, maybe, just maybe.
Dunning-Kruger.
Dunning-Kruger, right.
Check yourself.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Right. All right, and that's it for today's deep dive. This was awesome. We learned so much about how our brains try to trick us.
And how to outsmart them.
Exactly. Catch you all next time.